Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 247 with Fight on State. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Peter Terpstra, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Salaney provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go Penn State. By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Shields Awards and the Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By Freedom RV. Get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector Salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hey, hi, hello, this is Nittany Nation Overtime. I'm joined by the Nitwits, Peter Terpstra, alongside Neil Rudell, Mark Brennan. We got Lou Prado, the Penn State historian, our special guest tonight. Folks, thanks for coming on. We got a lot to talk about. We're in our pink, we're decked out, ready to go. Penn State just beat Iowa Saturday in a game where they needed a win back at home, and the defense kind of held there late when Iowa had a chance to win the game. Neil, what's your initial thoughts with the Penn State win?
I thought this was the defense's best performance of the year. They really didn't allow an offensive touchdown. They keep improving. I think the secondary played a really good game against a supposed NFL prospect, a guy they made look bad, and a guy who made himself look bad. Yeah. But I thought Penn State did defensively a great job. And other than a couple spots this year, key spots, they've played better than most people thought they would, and I think they're growing.
I like the fact that some different leaders stepped up. I mean, we all know what Trace McSorley's about, and he certainly did it again in this game. But, I was talking all year, this defense especially, what's its identity? Well, now we're starting to see Yetur Gross-Matos with another huge game.
Yeah.
Nick Scott, a guy who's your captain. You've been waiting for somebody to make a play like that in the clutch. Nick Scott comes through and does it. So I think the fact that you have some other people stepping up that you could kind of be your go-to guys, your leadership type guys, that to me bodes well for the rest of the season, provided it keeps up.
But John Reed, too.
I was about to say, John Reed really came through.
He stumbled around and we wanted did he lose it because of his injury? And then Micah Parsons. Towards the end, I don't know if you guys noticed, because where I said I could see the thing. He was there actually doing a defensive lineman, trying to get through to rush the passer, but they were rushing only 3 guys or 4 guys. So I think the defense is really coming, particularly the first team, and they're working in the other guys.
Yeah, you mentioned Gross-Matos. He's really on the verge of becoming a star. I mean, I think he has 4 sacks in the last 2 games, almost 20 tackles. Taylor was out the first half. They were able to sub with Sutherland, and then Taylor came in and played well. So a lot of good signs on the defensive side of the ball.
Coach mentioned you got the freshman tight end making big plays. You got the freshman kicker and the senior quarterback. We're going to get to the senior quarterback soon. But Jake Pinniger, the freshman from Iowa, kicker, hitting some long field goals. What does that say about how he's come along after having some misses early in the season?
Yeah, who could have seen that coming? Yeah. Wow, that's...
and in the weather, too.
Listen, Manka could have when you had him on the first show.
The fact they needed, this is another thing they absolutely needed, is to have a kicker step up. And for a while, we were wondering, is it going to be him or are they going to give somebody else a shot? that was good to see. You know, from where we sit, you never want to have a rooting interest, but you have to imagine how difficult this season has been for that kid, and the sort of pressure he was under, and to be able to do it against his home state team, and in a game where they absolutely needed him. If he doesn't come through, they lose. And obviously, the end of the first half, getting that three-pointer, I thought was really big for him and for the team.
You know, they had been reluctant to even attempt 40-yard field goals these last few games, and it's really cost them. And for him to be able to show that he can make 40-yard field goals and plus 49, 45, big factor going forward.
Let's see if he can do it this coming week, though. Now, this is really, I think, the test, because he's failed so much in the past. But I think he has confidence now, and as I said, Massimiliano Manco said a long time ago, it's all in the head.
Yep.
I mean, he said it's in the head, and we know Robbie Gould, what happened to him, and so there's good Sam Ficken, there's good examples for him to point to.
All right, let's finish this first thing on Trace McSorley. Obviously, he goes down with an injury. You don't know how serious it is at that time. He comes back, and then I think maybe the turning point in the game might have been when he broke off that 51-yarder in the second half, showing everybody that he was doing just fine.
Tremendous run, and Tompkins did a great job on the sideline blocking. But you really wondered whether he was, up until that point, it looked like he wasn't going to be able to make that kind of run after he had come back in. Hey, this guy's had the heart of a champion for how long?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Military Appreciation Day, so I mean this not in a literal sense, but in a football sense, that kid's a warrior out there. He really just lays it all out, and to come back and do that after he went down, we could see him on the sideline running around, and it took him a while to get where, honestly, Neil, I don't know about you, but watching from the press box, I was thinking there's no way this kid's coming back. And there you go. Good stuff, Peter. But from the other thing I think we have to point out here is the job that Tommy Stevens did when he came in. That they didn't really miss a beat. Now, obviously, we know what Trace McSorley's all about. He's got to be your guy if he's ready to go. But to have that sort of 1-2 punch at quarterback was
I'd like
big.
to say something about McSorley. You know, I'm the historian. Normally historians have to wait 5, 10, 15 years to assess him. I think this is the toughest quarterback of all time in the modern era. I consider the modern era after the single wing, because that was a whole different. The only guy I compare to him, it was a different. They didn't go all year round weightlifting on it. It was Richie Lucas, because Richie Lucas played defense, and he took a lot. He was a better defensive player than he was as an offensive, and he second in the Heisman. But this kid is obviously the toughest quarterback we've ever had.
I would throw Michael Robinson in that mix too.
Yeah,
because he was a tough kid as well. But I know where you're coming from. Yeah,
Robinson had the 1 year. If Robinson had played quarterback for 2 years, didn't he hit that guy out of bounds one time? He knocked him out of bounds. But I think if you're talking about the two guys, Robinson and McSorley.
All right, coming up next, we talked about some of the things we like. We're going to hit on some of the things that Penn State still has to clean up, especially some of the offense, maybe near the end of the game. So we'll see how they're doing then next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show, and of course, Penn State gets the win over Iowa. Obviously, I feel like we're still waiting for that complete game in all phases, and you had, some more mishaps and areas to improve on. Let's talk about the lack of the 4-minute offense. When there is about that much time on the clock, and they got to start picking up first downs, it seems like they're getting shut down.
Well, the guys have to make plays. Listen, you could talk about X's and O's all you want, but to me, obviously against Michigan State, I thought they made a bad call very late in the game. But overall, I think the O-line has to step it up, and guys have to make plays. As much as people want to criticize Ricky Ronnie, let's just call it for what it is. the best teams make plays in those situations. Now, fortunately for Penn State, when it needed plays on defense, it made them. So, to me, the fact that everybody wants to diagnose the X's and O's, I think it's more about just guys getting out there and grinding it out and making it happen.
I think they have become a little predictable, though, in that in the last, when they were trying to melt the clock here, it was McSorley 3 times in a row up the middle. And the best defensive coaches in the league are just not going to let him beat them in that situation. They've sort of proven that. So I think they still have to figure that out. It's I didn't necessarily see guys dropping balls. I didn't see any real running room in the 4-minute offense.
How about the lack of recovering fumbles? I mean,
It's unbelievable.
got a curse. And the other thing I want to
Never
talk
seen
about
it
is
like
the
it.
fact the safeties. Those 2 safeties, and I'm sitting, I thought we're getting close to a record. 4 teams hold the NCAA record for 3 safeties, one of them being Penn State in 1966.
With Mike Reed.
With Mike Reed, got credit for it, but he didn't
That's a
really
long
do them all.
story.
That's
We have all the knowledge. I love it.
Lou has disputed that.
He's going to
I got it writing that he
that.
didn't, but that's okay. But just, I thought, oh my God, we're going to have a record here of 3 safeties, and it could have happened the way the game was going.
The way that game started off, it was so incredibly sloppy, and it seemed like you had kind of the same things. Yeah, you got to deal with the weather, and Blake Gillikin is a guy that, you came into the season, he looked to be one of the best punters in the nation, and then you have kind of a few weeks of some mishaps, and what do you tell the kid?
Well, there's a disconnect on these special teams, and it really needs to be addressed. James has said that they have practiced against these formations. The formations shouldn't have surprised them, and yet it does. For as bad as their special teams were in the first half, and they were horrendous, they were that good in the second half. So they got to combine these. They got to eliminate the former and go with the latter. But
Well, that first half may has been as bad a half of special teams as I've seen out of Penn State. I know you're the historian, Lou, but
But it was terrible.
Yeah.
But I also want to talk about the stupid penalties are still occurring.
Yeah.
They're jumping across the line with, and it cost us on several occasions. They have to clean their act. They're going to get wiped out in Michigan if they don't clean up.
don't
but
think
going
they
back
had
to
any
going back to the special teams,
Yeah.
you have a full-time coordinator now in Phil Galliano, and I don't want to lay everything at his feet, but sooner or later you have to be accountable, and you would hope for his sake that moving forward they are able to tighten this stuff up, because it's odd they didn't have a coordinator for all these years. I think dating back to Tom Bradley in the early 80s,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah.
And now that they add the extra position, maybe they're working their way through it. And
they
who
never
does
needed
what.
one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now they have one.
Yeah,
So
those kickoffs were returns. They weren't into their lanes, according to what I was listening to.
Well, and that's the other thing is it's been different things. It's not always been one thing that's been hitting them. And I also like to hit on what Neil said. Then the maddening part is there are areas of special teams where they're just fantastic.
Yes.
And you're trying to wrap your head around, okay, where is the consistency? And that's what I think you need.
You mentioned fumbles. I just can't believe the ball reaction. Now, yesterday they got some turnovers, which was maybe a start to this, because they're going to need all these things this week. The opponent has put the ball on the ground 18 times. They've gotten 4 of them. That's unheard of.
It goes back to what Brennan said. You guys got to make plays, right? You're talking about, the 4-minute offense. I mean, yeah, that goes with everything. But isn't that the whole kind of puzzle, figuring out consistency in everywhere? That it's easy to just throw that out there and
We
say that's the
also
problem.
still have to worry about some of those receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple of them that are still having problems holding the ball. And I don't know what happened to Johnson. Did he get hurt at the end of the game?
He was hurt previously.
Previously, but
Yeah.
Deshaun came through, but they still need a couple receivers in there. And I know that I think Mark suggested a new kid. I can't remember his name.
Hamler.
Dodson, yeah, number 5.
Dodson.
Yeah.
I mean, Hamlin
He-
is the. I mean, he's the one that's saving the way. But even he fumbles, as we found out earlier games. But we need some receivers to catch those balls.
I've kind of taken up for Tompkins most of the year. I thought he had a pretty good game yesterday.
Yeah.
He did.
He
Yeah.
made 5 catches. He's pretty sure-handed with the punt returns. So at least of the veterans, he took a good step yesterday.
Yeah, and they need listen, nobody's rooting against these guys to not play well. I mean, I think everybody, again, even though we're journalists, you don't want somebody to struggle out there, especially veteran guys. And listen, for those of us who go to practice, you see these guys, right, Peter?
Yeah.
After every single practice,
They're taking
these
extra
receivers.
time. They're taking extra time. They're catching those extra balls. They're putting in the time. And Coach alluded to it this last week at practice that you talked about Mike Gesicki, and that was something that Gesicki was doing, was getting on the Jux machine and all the extra time, and he's seen that from this group. And he says he's not giving up on it. We saw Tompkins step up, but we also got a bunch of young guys that are really pushing too.
Well, I was a little surprised Dotson didn't play more, because I think when he got in there, they only targeted him twice, and he caught both of the balls. And I think moving forward, even if you're keeping these veteran players in the rotation, you're going to need people in case somebody gets banged up. So I was a little bit surprised we didn't see more of him. I think with Justin Shorter, it's still an issue where he didn't play a lot in the preseason, and as a regular enrollee, he wasn't an early enrollee. That's a very difficult time for a true freshman to miss. So I think the two guys are going to be Dotson and George if they decide to go that direction moving forward.
All right, so we teased it a little bit. Still ahead, we got the next wave of Penn State talent starting to take shape. What this means for the program, come on next.
The NitWits are brought to you by Reed and Salaney Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Salaney provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go Penn State. By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Shields Awards and The Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By Freedom RV. Get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. Neil, let's start with you. Are we seeing a glimpse of the future of this team whenever we see guys like, we're seeing like Micah Parsons and Dotson, all those young guys, but for them to be able to make contributions this early, I mean, should we see that right now?
Well, I think really, if you didn't have Trace McSorley, this would be a transitional year. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is really the cap of these last 3 years because you have McSorley, which is why I thought yesterday was a really big win, because it keeps them on track to have a good year. Mm-hmm. Maybe not a great year, although it still could be out there depending on what they do this weekend. But I think the rest of the team, other than maybe the offensive line, you have a lot of players in transition, younger players.
Well, yeah, and I think the fact, we've talked about a lot of the true freshmen already, so no need to really rehash that. But think about it. I mean, we mentioned Etor Gross-Matos. He's a true sophomore. KJ Hamler is a redshirt freshman. Castro Fields is a sophomore. So they have a lot of, it's not just a freshman class, they have a lot of young players, and I think that's why people are excited. People who really follow the program are excited for where it's going to go, even after Trace leaves, because I think they've recruited so well. They've set themselves up for long-term
What
success.
happened to Ricky Slade, though? He never
Yeah,
get in.
They said he was injured last week or nicked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was indicated that he was banged up.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
too
because
bad.
no other backs got a carry yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
And they didn't throw the ball at Sanders at all after 6 the previous week.
So now you're going
He
back
quit listening to you.
Now you're going back into wet blanket mode. I'm taking away from lose time.
All right, so at halftime, a lot of stuff going on in the game yesterday. At halftime, they honor teams from 1967 and 1969 for Penn State. You are our historian, Lou.
Well, the 1967 was Joe's turnaround team, and they played in the Gator Bowl. And in the 1968 team, in 1969, they finished number 2 behind 2 different teams, the famous Texas the problem with Nixon in '69. But they got these kids together. They say kids because I know them. I covered the team for Channel 11 in Pittsburgh, so I was with them, and some of my video was shown at a video they did. But what I noticed, I was telling Neil before that watching the videos today this morning, I said nothing's changed. I mean, they fumbled the ball. They couldn't control the clock against in a Gator Bowl.
Said I'm a wet blanket.
I mean, Joe gambled. It was 17-0 lead. He tried to go for a first down on the 20-yard line. I mean, some of the same things: fumbles, interception. And I pointed to Mike McBath and Chuck Burkhardt and said nothing's changed, and it's really the truth. But these guys are great guys, and yesterday, 2 guys got the biggest cheers, Jack Ham and Franco Harris, and everybody got. That's the people who know. I mean, they're in the spotlight. The other guys, they really don't know. But it's a great group of guys. They deserve what they get. And Joe was a different person back then. in a way that he was really just striving. He went for 2 points in the famous 15-14 Kansas game, and there was just a lot of things, and they got together and they had great times. The only man missing, I mean, there were several that didn't get back for different reasons, but the one that was missed the most was Mike Reed. And he's the local kid. Yeah. Local kid. He's not the kid
He
anymore.
had a musical conflict. But those guys laid the foundation.
Yeah,
You mean
but-
Oncott, Smear,
Oncott.
Ham, Franny Ganner was introduced.
Yeah,
also.
Franny Ganner, I thought that was terrific. After what Penn State did to him, and I'll say it, I don't like the way Penn State dealt with him, making him handle that Joe Paterno situation.
wrong.
It was great to see him get an acknowledgement. And listen, before we get out of this segment, I thought Penn State did a great job with the military appreciation stuff too. The stuff with Amani Oruware's mom, the whole thing. They did a lot of class stuff with former players and with military appreciation. So many times we complain about stuff. Let's give that Penn State a lot of
Put
credit
the
for what they
flags
did.
on the helmets. I also thought it was very classy of James Franklin and Penn State to acknowledge the synagogue
Absolutely.
murders in
Yep.
Pittsburgh.
And carrying the flag out
Yeah.
with his
Yeah.
with his mother's flag, I guess. What was his name?
Amani.
Amani, yep.
Or
Yeah.
you
I
wanted
mean,
it.
and they do that every year, and that's good because they need it. And the fans that I was around in the upper deck above the end zone, they're all standing up cheering for those guys.
And Rick Slater is the honorary captain, former Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Great stories from that guy, and he's been a real hero for the United States too. So again, they did a really nice job
Yeah.
with all that stuff. And you got some great video of it there, Peter.
It's always bigger than just the game, and anytime you can focus or give some attention to that, it's always a good thing. All right, we're going to move on. Next up for Penn State, maybe their toughest atmosphere they're going to play in all season. Biggest stadium. It's Michigan week. We'll tell you all about that next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Death Rows, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector Salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show. We're going to finish this thing up with Neil, Mark, and Lou. Let's start off with this Nitwit of the Week. Bring it up, Brennan. You guessed the score. Oh, yeah, Mark
Look
Brennan.
at him.
Look
Oh,
at
I
that. Exact score last week.
I didn't realize that.
I don't even know how I got a point. I don't remember that, but,
I'm going through the 20 years of archives. I think somebody probably picked the exact score at one point, but I got to give you credit.
That's
It's
great.
been a long, long time.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit Michigan real quick. Going to the big house, Neil, what do you got?
Oh, I'm going first, huh?
Yeah, you go first. Play off you.
You know what? The last time, I'll give Franklin credit, especially they've really not been blown out until 2 years ago was the last time that they were out of a game. And so they play with a lot of character. They're going to have to put everything together. They have not done that yet this year. I'm going to say Michigan 28, Penn State 24.
Wow.
Mark?
Well, listen, Michigan, I think you're going to see a team that plays ball control. They really control the clock. So I don't see this game being a blowout. I know the initial line was 11.5. I think Penn State's going to keep it close because you still have Trace McSorley. But ultimately, I think that Michigan pulls away 23-20.
All right, I'm going to pick Michigan as well, 28-24.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
What are you landing on me like that
Yes.
for?
Okay. But
Sorry,
I
we'll
promise
forgive
that was
you.
my
That's
pick.
your pick.
28-24.
Oh, I'm
What do
going
you
with
think?
Penn State. I'm a
right, there you go.
hometown. I used to be a Michigan fan. I started out being a Michigan fan back in the 1950s, and until we went into the Big Ten, I rooted for Michigan. I don't like them anymore, but I'm going to go with Penn State. I could just name the score. 25-19. I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
picking. I got to root for the team.
Hey, that's fair.
You're the
right?
Penn State sports historian. You were
I got
allowed.
to root for the team and root for these kids.
Root
you
So
for
know?
your pick.
everyone picked Michigan except for Lou. All right, Penn State fans are open. We're all wrong. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're going to be back next week after the Michigan game. Be sure to check us out then. This was Nittany Nation Overtime.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Solaney Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Solaney provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go Penn State. By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Shields Awards and The Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By Freedom RV. Get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector Salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group. Committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By EasyToUse.com. Your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.